So I will start it again. All right, can everyone see the screen?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful, good. Okay. So, hello everyone. My name is Catherine, or you can call me Katie Franklin, and I have worked at Wayne State University for the last few years. But before that, I was working at a couple different universities, and I've been in higher ed for a little bit over 10 years. And so I have a lot of higher ed experience. And so I'm here today to talk about how to navigate university connections, how and when to reach out to US schools. So that was my little introduction. If you'd like, you can put in some of your information, your name, if you're undergrad or graduate, and what your interest is, what your field is, and I can kind of look over that later. But the purpose of today is just to guide you on how you can effectively connect with universities in the US, understand the timing of when to do that, and then avoiding common mistakes that universities will see over time. And it's really important to establish that communication and connection with the youth universities you're looking at because it's a crucial part of the application process and it does demonstrate proactive interest. And there are some universities that we'll talk about later. There are some universities that actually tag that and they actually pull data to see how much you have shown interest in their university as well. So that's something that we'll look at in the next several slides. So first, the importance of reaching out to the US schools. First, you're building that relationship. The personal connection is there. You want to make sure that you're reaching out to the admissions office, maybe specific faculty if you're a graduate applicant, or some staff such as international office staff. It's really beneficial for understanding the university's culture that way if you're reaching out first, and you can get answers to very specific questions as well. And then just the process of the application. So application process insight is
Sorry,
where you
Katie.
can, oh, yes?
Sorry to interrupt.
No.
We cannot see the presentation.
Oh, you can't?
No,
Oh,
we
no.
can't.
Okay. Let's see. This whole time you haven't seen it. Okay. Let's see. How do I? Can you see it now? Hmm. Can you see it now?
No.
No? Hmm.
Not yet.
Not yet. That's strange. What about now?
No.
No?
No.
Oh my goodness. Okay. I think I know what happened. Let me see here. All right.
I can.
I think it's
There
working
you go.
now. Yes?
Yes.
Okay. Huh. Okay. I apologize for that.
If you can, like, um, yeah, there you
You
go.
can see it now?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Um, and let me know if this works. Can you still see it?
Yep.
Okay. Because I was using presenter view and that makes it a little bit difficult. Um, all right. We're good now. All right. So I had just talked about this, the purpose, why it's important. Talking about building relationships and also the application process. So obviously that personal connection is key. And then also figuring out more of the application process, finding out deadlines, specific documentation, because every university is going to be a little bit different, and as well as how many or if they need letters of recommendation. And as far as the demonstrating interest, there are some universities that will track the demonstrated interest. So showing that you're engaged through communication like emails, and also paying attention to whether or not you're attending virtual events or visiting a campus even virtually, they might actually tag that and show that you're actually genuinely interested in a university. And then the fourth is networking and campus resources. So that's very important as well. You're able to reach out to provide to kind of figure out what opportunities there are to learn more about academic programs, faculty, if there are any internships. Um, Also knowing about campus life, and then also kind of what available student support service there are as well. And when you build connections, that's some things to keep in mind. When you reach out to faculty specifically, you want to first express interest in their work. So that means that you'd have to research their work and find out what they're doing. This is especially true for graduate students. You'd want to share your academic background, any aligned interests that you might have, maybe a specific article that you read. And then you'd want to ask about maybe a specific research opportunity or scholarship or assistantship or a project that they're currently working on, and you can show that you're interested in maybe helping with that. And that will help them to see that you could be a viable option for research assistantship or even a teaching assistantship. As far as building connections for undergrad or really even grad, you can also engage with current students. So you can look for different online forums. A lot of social media groups are available out there. So like on Facebook, I've seen that but happen a lot with universities. They reach out to other students that are there already, and also LinkedIn as well. And then another way to engage would be to participate in virtual student events or webinars hosted by the university. So sometimes there'll be a webinar on application support. Sometimes it will be about their application cycle. And a lot of times there are universities that have even admitted webinars, and that's going to show engagement and genuine interest as well. And as far as your selection, so in the beginning, you're thinking of what are my factors in selecting? These are kind of the main factors to think about when you're looking at universities that you're interested in. The first would be looking at academic programs and research opportunities. So any programs that will align with your field. Also, there could be a faculty member that you found that matches your research interests. So you're looking at first the academic portion. That's probably the most important, especially for graduate students. Another would be the location and campus life. If you want to live in more of a city, urban environment, that could be something that could change your mind about where you want to go. A rural setting maybe is something that you're more interested though, so that you kind of want to see where it's located. Also the climate, if you want to kind of think about that, if you don't want to be somewhere really cold, or if you want to be somewhere kind of in the middle or somewhere very hot, thinking of that possibly. Also culturally diversity. A lot of times the urban settings will be more culturally diverse. So that's something to keep in mind as well when you're choosing universities. And also extracurriculars, what kind of student organizations are on the campus. And you can find a lot of this information on their website. So a lot of that information is going to be out there and easy to get. Another thing to think about is the admissions requirements. So the SAT, ACT score is something that all high schoolers in the US have to complete, one of the two, sometimes both. And there are some universities that require you to have those scores and others that don't. For example, Wayne State University doesn't require that, but there are some that do. So that's something to keep in mind if you're applying to multiple universities. If one university needs it and the other doesn't, you still would have to do the test if you're applying to that one. There's also English proficiency tests to think of as well, which tests they take. All universities will take TOEFL IELTS, TOEFL or IELTS, and there are others that take Duolingo, others that take, for example, the Michigan English test as well. And those are kind of the top three. It's a little bit harder to find a university that takes Cambridge, but there are definitely some universities that do take Cambridge as well. But Cambridge is more a European English proficiency test. And then the GPA, obviously knowing whether or not GPA, there's a specific requirement. whether it's a 3-point, 2-point, 4-point, or close to a 4-point. That could be something to keep in mind too. What GPA do you need to get into this school? And then with letters of recommendation, they could ask for 1, 2, 3, or none. It just depends on the university. So that's also something to kind of think about when selecting universities. And then the last two are more about financial and then ranking. So financial considerations, just knowing how much tuition is, if they have scholarships, and also the living cost of the city. And then the ranking and reputation obviously is helpful and might look good, but you also want to consider your specific needs and goals. If you're picking a very prestigious, high-ranking university, it's going to be expensive, and it'll be a lot more competitive. So that's something to keep in mind. And maybe it doesn't even have the research that you want to do. So just keeping that in mind, and what your needs and goals are. And just a little quick piece about demonstrated interest explained. I'm not sure if anyone's aware of it, but I wanted to at least put it out in writing, kind of define it. It's when universities track interest before applying, and that it may influence the decision. And they're going to track the webinars, campus tours, all your emails. And they also want to see that you're applying early, that those all are going to show genuine interest. And while many don't, a lot of the competitive programs will, and it may improve your chances if you do demonstrate interest in those different ways. But really, it's good to do with any application cycle to kind of reach out. You would attend virtual events, open houses, contact the admissions with thoughtful questions. So making sure that, again, that you research, look up the website information and ask questions, confirming something you read on the website instead of asking something that could be found there. You can also follow social media, engage with posts. A lot of times I've seen genuine interest from students who've engaged on our Instagram or our LinkedIn, and that's showing that they are demonstrating their interest. And again, applying early. And a little piece about the international students offices. So I'm actually part of the Office of International Programs, and we do get questions from applicants. And sometimes that's kind of the first place you can go if you don't know where to go. Obviously, if you know it's an admissions question, you would go to the admissions office. If it's a scholarship question, you might go to the financial office. But if you really don't know where to start and you've looked all over the websites and you're not sure, the International Student Office can kind of be that general information kind of a contact. They're also going to obviously be able to answer your visa-related questions, any questions about orientation or cultural adaptation. Maybe there's a workshop on academic writing or communication or time management when you get there. But that's going to be your first point of contact when you arrive. So they're more than willing to answer your questions and kind of make sure that you're understanding what it's like at their university. And they also gave a lot of detailed advice on immigration procedures and life on campus as well. So now when to reach out. So just in a nutshell, kind of generally early in the process. And we'll talk about the exact timeline, but you want to reach out as soon as possible. You want to actually reach out before application deadlines, during recruitment events. So I don't know if you can tell, but that's actually me in that picture. And I'm at a fair in Brazil. And I'm talking to these students who, a lot of the students that will show interest don't actually apply until the next cycle because they need a year sometimes to kind of know what kind of universities are out there, what would go well with their goals. And so during recruitment events is another time to reach out and speak with universities. And also just following up during the application process to make sure that you're getting your questions answered, and if you have any sort of doubt, to reach out. So here's the timeline. Um, so 1 year before applying is a good idea. That gives you a lot of time to look up several universities and knowing kind of everything by the time you actually go to apply. 6 to 12 months before applying, you're kind of contacting professors, getting a little bit more specific information. So the 1 year before is kind of general. You're figuring out eligibility and deadlines, looking maybe at college fairs. With between 6 to 12 months, you would be contacting professors, departments. Maybe if you have specific research goals, you actually inquire and ask about potential research assistantships or opportunities. At 3 to 6 months, you would want to confirm application deadlines, making sure that you're preparing your documents, so your transcripts, your letters of recommendation, your test scores. You'd want to make sure those were all there. You'd want to then reach out to the admissions office to clarify any requirements, any doubts or final questions before actually hitting the application submit button. 1 to 2 months before applying is when you're double checking all of your materials, you're sending any final questions regarding the process. And then after acceptance, even though you've been accepted, you can still reach out and you still should be reaching out to figure out visa regulations and housing. And for graduate students, reaching out to faculty and finding out if there are any potential advisors or research departments or student organizations they should be aware of. And then obviously you want to know about funding as well. So asking if there are any teaching assistantships or if there's somewhere that you could work on campus, research or teaching or research assistantships, and then any other funding options that are out there. So that's kind of the timeline. And again, I don't know whether or not you were told, but you will get this PowerPoint. So you don't have to write down everything, and all the information will be there. But you can always take pictures if you need a little reminder as far as the timeline. And then the ways to reach out. So the first one obviously is email, and that is probably going to be your number one contact point is email, especially because that's really the main contact for higher ed in general. There's then also the virtual events and webinars. You can talk to them kind of one-on-one or in a group setting. Phone calls are a little bit rare, a little bit more rare, but especially like a smaller university might have more phone calls or would have maybe a quick virtual Zoom call if it's a smaller university and are able to have that capacity to answer one-on-one questions. And then also social media. So social media being, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, those types of social media that most universities will have. So we'll go a little bit more in depth with the email piece, and we'll actually look at examples of some clear, concise, professional emails, and kind of how that would kind of look. But you can see a picture here. That's me in a little a mini group Zoom call. So something like that might be something you would see if you wanted to do either a webinar or a virtual call. And as far as how to reach out, step number one, and I know you've already been told this um, by your cohort leader, and step one would be researching the website. So looking up those universities. This is an example of Wayne State University's first page here. You would want to make sure that you look up all the information you can find because universities an admissions office and Office of International Programs don't have, I mean, they have time, but when you're asking questions that are already on the website, usually what you'll get an answer is a link to the website. So a lot of times their answer is it's already there on the website. So you would start with that. That's your step one. So gather as much information as you can. A lot of universities, most universities will have a frequently asked questions page that will go through the detailed answers and will give you detailed admissions guidelines as well. So that's something to kind of to start with. That's your step one, is to find out deadlines, documents, application procedures. Step two is then determining who to reach out to, right? The right contact. For undergraduate admissions, you'd want to reach out to them if you had a general inquiry or question regarding the program. So that could be about a requirement, that could be about a specific program, it could be about scholarships. So that could be one um, contact if you had those questions. You could also have a question as a graduate applicant if you're interested in graduate school, like a master's or a PhD. So for those specific questions, you'd want to reach out to graduate admissions. And usually undergrad and grad have two different admissions departments. So for graduate, you might have a question about their programs or a GRE or GMAT, a specific test requirement for a program, or asking about scholarships. So knowing that those are usually two different people, two different offices, undergraduate and graduate admissions. And then maybe you have a question about specific research opportunities. That would be something where you would reach out to the faculty or department that you're looking at, specifically if you're a graduate student. And then if you have a visa question or maybe a cultural adaptation question or immigration questions, that's when you would reach out to the International Student Office that you can find on the website. And then as far as step three, that's when you would kind of think about, okay, I need to write my professional email. You want to make sure to be clear, concise, have a little bit of an introduction, be concise about what you're trying to find out, having a clear question, and then a polite closing. And we'll look a little bit more deeply at what that would look like, and we'll in the next couple of slides, we'll go over an example. And then step four is just a follow up. So if you don't receive a response, that's typical. A lot of admissions offices and higher ed staff in general are very busy people. I know that I don't always get to an email right away just because I have a lot of things going on, and a lot of higher ed professionals have many hats. They have many different tasks and projects going on all at once. So we will get back to you, but usually within a week, you can send a polite follow-up email if you haven't heard from them yet. So some tips for effective outreach, specifically thinking of an email, would be to be clear, be specific, express your enthusiasm, right? You want to show that you're excited about the prospect of being at the university, being professional, being polite, being a little bit more formal than a text, not hesitating to ask a question, and thinking of time zones a little bit and working hours, just because wherever you're looking might have a different time zone. For example, I think it's 5:25 there, but it's 7:25 here. So at 7:25, usually people are not working in the US. We work usually 8:30 or 9 to 5. And then we aren't working anymore. So respecting that and knowing that if you send something late at night, they probably won't see it till the next morning or afternoon, depending on how many emails they're getting in their inbox. And then again, following up respectfully. Some things to avoid, we've already talked about this a little bit, but not doing your research. That's something that if an admissions office sees that, they'll probably just send you to the website. So just ensure that your questions have already been answered on the university's website before you email. Also, making sure that something else to avoid is those response times. So not being too upset if they don't respond right away in a day, because it might take a little bit of time, and just being a little bit patient, which is why we ask to do it a year before so that there's plenty of time and you don't feel rushed. And then also being too informal. So I have a little picture there. Don't treat the email like texting. You want it to be more formal, more professional. Give that impression that reflects your seriousness about the application process. And so that kind of goes along with being more personal in your email. So kind of avoiding the generic or impersonal emails. You want to kind of show a little bit more of yourself in the communication. And you also don't want to send out the same exact email to all schools. You want to tailor your questions based on what you found in their websites, because they're not all going to be the same. So this is the email crafting. We'll look at an example next, but the crafting of it would just be a clear, concise subject line that's very, like, as soon as I see the subject line, I'll know what the question is going to be. So inquiry about computer science admissions, or if it's graduate school, graduate program application inquiry for computer science. The greeting could be and should be more formal. So you could say dear, and then if you know the name, you can put the name, or you can say dear admissions staff or admissions professional. And then you could introduce yourself, briefly say your name, your location, what program you're interested in, and then you would clearly ask your specific information. So maybe you're asking about deadlines or requirements or opportunities for research, and then your polite closing. So that's kind of the crafting of the email. And this is an example of one. So inquiry regarding campus computer science admissions for 2026, right? So that helps them too to know what year. So you'd put dear, here's this, admissions officer, right? Admissions officer or professor, if there's a specific professor you're reaching out to. I hope this message finds you well. That's a very common sentence to see. I use it all the time. My name is Katie. I'm currently completing my computer science undergraduate degree at Wayne State University, located in Detroit, right? That would be me, but obviously you're putting in your information. I'm interested in applying to blank blank and would appreciate more information about blank, right? And then a short little thank you for your time, consideration. I look forward to hearing from you soon. So that's a very professional, well put together email. You can definitely take a little snapshot of that. But that's a good example of just a clear, concise email that doesn't go on too long and gets right at what needs to be said. That's in the US, we like to be a little bit more direct because we like to do all things all at once. And a shorter email means less time. A couple more examples here. One would be for a general admission question. That would be kind of the purpose piece of the email for an undergraduate student, where they're interested in a specific program and how they can apply, and asking a question about sharing more information. Example two, more of a graduate program inquiry. So I'm planning to apply to whatever program I'm particularly interested in the research of, and you can maybe find or see a professor on a website that has that information there, and maybe a research article that you're really interested in talking about. So those are some examples as well. Take a snapshot if you'd like of that. Because now we're going to actually try it ourselves. So we're doing a little short workshop here, and I'm going to have a few scenarios, and if you just have an idea, you can start typing something out, or you can take yourself off mute and give an example if you'd like. So you'll read the scenario, draft some type of short part of the email, so what question you would ask, and then also focusing on applying those strategies we just talked about. So clear, concise, formal, a specific question, maybe a polite closing. So the first scenario, you are an international student currently completing your high school studies. You are interested in applying to the undergraduate computer science program at a U.S. university. However, you need clarification on the application deadline for international students, as the dates on the website seem different for domestic and international applicants. So can anybody tell me what they would ask? What kind of question would they ask? What would they put in their email? I'll give maybe a minute for you guys to kind of think that through.
This is your chance. So we have some undergrad applicants here.
Hmm.
So I think this will be a more likely a scenario for them.
Okay.
So Let's see if any undergrad would like to participate. Oh, Carlos, raise his hand.
Okay. Yeah, I can't see that, but yes, go ahead.
Go ahead, Carlos.
Well, first of all, hello.
Hi.
Glad to be here, Katie. Um, well, I'll be just like concise. For example, I will ask maybe, dear Katie, my name is Carlos, blah 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 blah. Just some like a quick presentation, and then I will explain like very quickly my situation. Like I just need clarification about the deadline because I'm an international student and the dates on the website seem different. So I just want to know when is the deadline for international applicants, and then
Right.
I just go mm, like a polite closing, and I think that'll be all.
Yeah. Yeah, simple, right? Fairly concise. Just you can even say just I'd like to clarify the deadlines. Like it could be very concise, and then the application or admissions office will understand, oh, okay, yes, there is a little bit of confusion there, and then explain that. Very good. Oh, someone actually typed it out. Ooh, okay. Here we go. Dear admissions office. Yeah. Very interested in applying to the undergraduate. Yep. While reviewing the admissions. I noticed that the applicant has appeared to differ from, yeah, I would greatly appreciate if you could clarify, yeah, I like that word, the specific application deadline for international students. Thank you very much for your time and assistance. I look forward to your response. Perfect. Yeah, so that's using the example. So someone that just asked if you can see the example again, that's the example. So just putting that straight in, that's easy enough, and that's concise enough and professional enough to get the answer. So great. The next example is for graduate. So are there any graduate applicants out there? This is one that's a little different. So you're a graduate student with a background in environmental science. You're interested in applying to a master's program in environmental studies. You are particularly interested in working with a specific professor whose research aligns with your interests. And you need to know how to reach out to the professor and whether they're accepting new research assistants for the upcoming year. What would you say? And yeah, you can type it out or you can, speak if that's easier. Thank you for the volunteers before, by the way. Oh yeah, go ahead, Alma.
Oh, hi, Katie.
Hello.
Um, well, I'm going to use your example because it's very good, and it is exactly what I want to ask right now.
Okay.
Could you provide guidance on how to could you please provide guidance on how to approach to Professor Golding for a research opportunity stage? Um, but I don't know if this is my question for you. I don't know if it is a good idea that after applying for a PhD, I can contact a professor for a short stay for research, or just wait for being prepared to the application.
So did you already do that or are you thinking about doing that?
I'm thinking about doing that.
Okay.
I was asking for your advice.
Yeah,
Okay.
my advice would be to talk with them first, because if you going through the application process, it's a long process, and it might take you a while to get the answer that whether or not you're admitted. And if you're starting a year in advance and then doing everything that far in advance, then you could miss your chance to do a shorter stay. So I would first ask. Or at least look into what kind of opportunities there are in a specific university, specific department, maybe even talk with a professor. And also, if you aren't really hearing back from them, you could always reach out to the international office, whichever international office is at the university. A lot of times, international offices will be tapped into those types of things, or will know at least who to send you to if you have questions.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, so this question could be towards, so for this graduate focus scenario 2, it could be sent, oh, we have an example. It could, so I was saying it could be sent to the professor, or it could be sent to the admissions office. The way that you answer it kind of depends on who you're sending it to. It looks like, okay. Okay. Yeah, I have a background working in environment. I would like to apply to MPS, and therefore I'm interested in working with Professor X. Currently accepting students. Okay, so yeah, that could be a question that could be sent to maybe the admissions office. And then if you were to send it directly to the professor, you might put a little bit more information about their research and show that you've been looking up what they're doing, and say that you're really interested in something that they've been working on. Oh, we have another example here. Oh, and even, okay, inquiry about research opportunities and graduate supervision. That's a good subject line. I hold a degree. I'm currently preparing that. I've read it. There you go. I've read about your research on urban sustainability. I find it strongly aligned with my academic and professional interests, right? So showing that interest is really helpful to garner interest in the professor and looking into your application, because for undergraduates, for the most part, your application is looked at by a bunch of admissions officers. With graduate, the graduate school will look over it just to see the requirements, and then it will go for review to the department. So those professors that you're emailing might actually be looking at your application after admissions has looked at it. So it's a good idea to talk with them beforehand, and they're going to make decisions based on what they have, and then maybe even some communication they've had with you as well. So it's really important to reach out when you're a graduate applicant. All right, great. So those are some examples there. Just a few more slides here. And I actually do have some examples. So if you want to take a picture, I have an example for scenario 1 for the undergraduate focus. Anyone wants to take that picture, or we will be sending it after. And then scenario 2, there's an example for the graduate focus. So you can use your colleagues' examples, or you could use this example as well. And again, we'll send that along after the presentation. So we shared some of the emails. I liked the formal tone, it's very specific, very clear. That's something to keep in mind. Seemed very professional the way that I heard those examples discussed. And that's kind of my feedback. I think that you guys are doing well. And obviously having more examples and practicing that is going to be key to getting better at that type of communication. So just to recap, the key steps in reaching out: do your research. The timing is crucial. One little note is that a lot of undergraduate deadlines will be between November and January for the fall semesters. And then for graduate, it will be between December and February for deadlines. And that's also for fall semesters. You can sometimes apply, it depends on the university, but you can apply sometimes for winter or spring or summer, but fall is the most common, and that's usually end of August, early September. It just depends on the university, but that's the usual timing of deadlines, and something to keep in mind for how long in advance you need to think of the application process. And then obviously another key thing is crafting those professional specific emails, getting the information you need, following up as well, making sure that your questions are answered, and using all of those resources wisely. So finding the website information and making sure that you're using all the online forums and help desks that you can find that are on the website. And a note about common application. Does anyone know what that is?
For undergrad, that will be a topic that we will
Oh, okay.
review at the end of the month.
Okay. Well, should I not mention it then?
No, you can,
Okay. But no one's aware of it. Okay.
yeah, and yeah.
Okay. All right. So just a little thing to think of for undergraduate admissions. If you're applying to more than one university, it's usually a good idea to use Common Application. This is a platform where you can apply, and while you're applying to multiple universities. So you wouldn't necessarily have to apply to every single university, but there are certain universities that do Common Application and some that don't. Wayne State University does. Others might not. They might. It just kind of depends. You'd have to make sure before you go into the application cycle for a university. And for graduate school searches, you can go to gradschools.com. There's also, we talked about rankings. You can look at the US News and Rankings, and that will be listed there as well. So those are kind of where you can start if you want to start looking for universities. And then obviously the key resource is going to be the website, the university website. That's going to be your most accurate and up-to-date information, because we know that that's where a lot of students are looking first. So in summary, connecting with US universities, very essential. You want to reach out early. You want to be clear and concise with communication and use the resources that they're available to you. They're out there, and that will mean that you make an informed decision. So your call to action would be just to begin looking for US schools and being proactive in your search and communication. So I wish you all the luck. And then do we want to do questions now, or should I talk a little bit about Wayne State? I'll go straight into the Wayne State, and then we can ask questions. Is that okay, Mabel? Okay. So Wayne State University, I mentioned it before, so that's where I am. It's located in Detroit, and there's a little map here to show you where we're located. So we're up right near Canada. We're actually 10 minutes from the border of Canada, right by Windsor, Canada. We're about 4 hours from Toronto and 4 hours from Chicago. So that's kind of where we're located. And Detroit is the biggest city. It's not the capital, but it is the largest city. And our university are located in the heart of Midtown in Detroit. So we're an urban university. We're nationally ranked premier Research One institution. So we have a lot of scholarships for PhD. We have a lot of money coming in for research. We're also home to over 24,000 students, including 1,300 plus international students from 86 different countries. So we're the most diverse public institution in Michigan and the most diverse city as well in Michigan. We're in the top 100 public universities in the US News and World Report, and we're also top 1.6% worldwide, according to the Center for World University Rankings. And then we have many different schools and colleges. We have 13. We have a medical school, law school, business school, school of social work. We have a liberal arts and sciences. We have several more that I can't think of off the top of my head, but out of those, there are over 350 programs. So a lot of availability of programs. You can check out and review them there at wayne.edu/programs at the bottom of the slide there. And we have lots of opportunities for living on campus, 7 different residence halls and apartments, and lots of different student organizations. And we're a Division II varsity or Division II university with 18 varsity athletic teams. And then a quick little side note that we do have financial aid. For undergraduate, we have merit-based. For graduate financial aid, we do have assistantships, fellowships, scholarships, kind of limited funding for masters, but we do have full funding for PhD students. And then obviously you can work on campus. Most international students can work on campus as well if it's something that is under 20 hours a week. And then departmental and private scholarships as well, and maybe even loans. So there's lots of opportunities for financial aid as well. So now What are your questions? Any questions? Thank you so much for attending. You can find all the information here for contacting me about Wayne State, but I also want to know what questions you have about universities in general.
Which are common works that are available on the universities?
Sure, yeah. So there are on a larger campus, there will be lots of stores and shops. So for example, on our university's campus, we have Starbucks, we have different restaurants, we have different kind of customer service kind of jobs. There's also departmental jobs. So different offices will have student assistants, student workers that they're looking for throughout the year. Our office actually has a few different students that will hire to work with us, and they're actually for the most part international students. So we do have a pretty high population of international students, especially for Michigan, and a lot of international students are like looking around in our different departments. And since we have so many programs and departments, there are a lot of opportunities for working on campus. And that's the same for any like larger university. And the smaller universities obviously will have some opportunities as well. There's always like you can work at the gym if you're a gym person. There's just a lot of different opportunities on campus. Did that answer your question?
Sorry.
Oh, no, it's okay. Go ahead.
Yes.
Hi.
Okay. Hi.
Hi, Katie.
Hello.
Hi, everyone. Thank you. First of all, thank you for your insightful meeting.
Yeah, sure.
And I want to apply for a PhD.
Mhm.
And as far as I know, you have to contact different supervisors or potential supervisors. So I would like to know how long I must or I should wait before contacting another professor in the same university. Because sometimes there are very busy people,
Mhm.
they won't reach you back. So for me, that's a problem. So, but in some universities, they have a very strong department for this
Mhm.
specific field. So I would like
Mhm.
to know that if I already reach one professor, how
Mhm.
long I need to wait.
I guess it depends on the university. If it is a larger university, yes, you probably will have a longer wait. And kind of that idea of follow-up a week later or maybe a couple weeks later. A lot of times in higher ed, especially with faculty, I was even told as a staff member, with faculty, they need usually 2 weeks to get back to you. And so that's my normal. I'm just used to like just being like just sending an email and sitting on it for 2 weeks. And after 2 weeks, and I put it in my calendar, follow up with this person, because that does help you to remember too. Because if you're contacting multiple, you might forget. So just yeah, giving them at least 2 weeks. And after 2 weeks, if they haven't said anything, you can follow up, or you can maybe follow up with someone else in their department and ask, hey, I'm trying to get in touch with this person. Do you know someone else that could help me get in touch with him or her? So that would be my suggestion. I don't know, Mabel, if you have other examples as well, if you've talked with other people.
Yeah. First, Katie, thank you for the presentation. And
Yep.
regarding the question of Guillermo, maybe he was referring more to try to look professional and not like he's doing some fishing for researchers.
Oh, I see.
Uh, because yeah, that's one advice that we have here, that do not contact three researchers at the same time for the same
Oh,
university.
yeah. No, I
Uh,
wouldn't say do it at the same time. Yeah.
yeah, but I think he was referring more like, I already contact my first option. He didn't reply. How much time should I wait to see if he should
Mm.
reply, or should I move to the next researcher?
I guess then I would say a month, because I wouldn't follow up more than once. If you email and then follow up, and after like the 2 weeks and so like a month, if you don't hear back from them from your follow up, just to give yourself, like if you're really looking for that person, if you're really excited about that person, I would give it a month with that person. I don't know if that's too long. but
I think it's okay. We have at least for my advicees, and
mhm,
especially this is crucial for PhD students.
right.
They need to contact an advisor, a
Mhm,
researcher,
right.
because they are going to be working with whatever they contact. But
Mhm,
1 month or 1 month of and a half, depending also when you send the email, because if it's a holiday period or
true.
if it's an exam, I don't know, they are
Mhm,
in finals, it will be a little bit more complicated.
right.
Um, so maybe Katie, you can walk us through really quick for the dates that they finals in May, right? At the end of
Okay,
May.
yeah. So
Please
there,
do
well, there are
not.
two different finals to think of because the fall semester has finals as well. So in the
Mhm.
fall semester, once you hit mid-November, that's like rush time where they're doing grading and, they're doing all of that. Sometimes you can catch them right before break because they are now done grading. But I would stay away from November, December, if you can. Maybe early November's fine, but once you get into the holidays, they're going to be less reaching out less. And then the same is true for the end of the spring semester or winter semester. So, like that usually like end of April is when, yeah, end of April, early May, depending on the university. Sometimes universities have slightly different and they last till June, because they're like trimesters. But a semester would be end of April would be the exams. So I would reach out before early April. So like January to early April, reaching out, and then like September to like early November probably would be the best time to reach out.
And another tip that I would like to share, especially with PhD candidate, is you can attach your CV to the email. So the researcher has a good glimpse of what your professional trajectory has been. Tomorrow, by the way, we're going to have a session for grad candidates about a CV, because the CV also it's a very important document that you need to be very careful when you are creating that type of that type of document. It should contain relevant information, especially for the researcher that you are trying to get contact with. And another extra tip that I will share with you is, especially again for PhD candidates, is also, as Kathy mentioned, um, if you don't receive response from the researcher within a month, also try to reach out to Katie or like people like Katie. So through them, maybe you can get reply sooner, with the
Yeah,
professor.
right. Because a lot of international programs will also be linked into like the Fulbright, and a lot of times they're already having contact with faculty. So a lot of them will know faculty. And so the international office can help with that if they're not responding. And they might know, like, oh, yeah, they're on sabbatical, or oh, yeah, they are out, they're on vacation. And then you can maybe reach out again.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yep, no problem. Any
Okay,
questions?
any more questions?
Good.
We're also going to share some other examples, different from the ones that Katie shared, for you to have different versions of emails that you can use when you try to reach out to international admissions offices or researchers. Okay, no more questions? You are doing a task about universities. Uh, Katie mentioned a lot of scholarships and a lot of things that you might be interested in. So please make sure to include Wayne State University in your research, um, to see if it's a good fit or not. Okay, if there is no more questions, I think it will be the end of our session. Thank you very much, Katie, for this. Um,
Yeah,
and
thank you.
we will keep in touch. I'm gonna stop recording the session, and I'm gonna be here if anyone has any doubts regarding the information that Christy sent in the email. If anyone has doubt how the cohort is going to work, but if I'll be here for a while. Um, but let me just stop the recording now. Ay, ay, ay. Ah.